Have a seat on your porcelain throne. It's time to talk some shit. The Powell Movement.
Welcome to the Powell Movement. I'm your host, Mike Powell, and while it's the end of snow season in the U.S., really, it's not the end for me, as I'll be heading down to Mount Hood this summer in the Powell Movement RV for some mobile interviews and some fun time at Wendell's. But for now, it's time for summer episodes, and I'm kicking it off with a living legend of surfing and one of the standout names from the Momentum generation. I'm talking about Taylor Knox. He's a powerful surfer who's had to go through some crazy shit in life that never stopped him from achieving his dream. But before we talk to Taylor, I need to ask you to please follow me on Instagram at The Powell Movement, share my posts on Facebook, which no one seems to like to do, but please do it. It does help the show grow. And if you want to connect with me, my email is mike@thepowellmovement.com, and I'd love to hear from you. I also want to thank my sponsors who make this show happen. They are Evo, Rescue Water, the 10 Barrel Brewery, and Unofficial Networks. Now, let's talk to Taylor Knox. We are making this thing happen.
I know, dude. I feel so bad. I'm so sorry about the whole Australia thing. I got invited to go down to be with Mick for Bells at the last minute, and I said, of course, yes. So that was great and all, but it was just kind of chaos when I was there, and it was just on Mick's schedule, and it was a pretty crazy schedule.
When you said you would do it, but you were going to be in Australia, I had a feeling that it wasn't going to happen. I mean, we've kind of been going back and forth for like a year, and it doesn't really matter how long it's taken. But we finally made it happen. I mean, you're a guy I wanted to have on the show. We have a mutual friend in common, Don Wallace.
Love Don Wallace. Don Wallace is the best human ever.
He is? I would argue his brother might be better. I don't know if you know Ben.
I think I've met his brother once, but I hear nothing but good things about his brother.
His brother's way funnier and has a way better looking face because he doesn't have all that hair on it.
I know. I've never known Don without a beard, but I saw his driver's license, and I was like, dude, you look so much different. It's crazy.
And I would say I know Don mostly without a beard, so when I saw him with the big beard, I was kind of like, hey, man, shave that thing off. That was like 4 years ago people had those beards, but he is going to take that thing for the long run.
You got to use reverse psychology on him because he's like a little kid. Tell him to do it, and he's not going to do it.
Don's been on the show. He runs things over at Liquid Force. You were over for Mick's last event. That's kind of the end of the old guard, I would think. Your whole crew in surfing, he's the last one.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's Tim. I mean, I guess Parko's still there. He'll retire next year, and they're the generation behind us because they're all about 10 years younger.
What's it like? Are there presentations, tears, or is it just one big party?
It's kind of one big party. I mean, kind of like a party/roast, and it was all time. I mean, his mom got up and spoke, and Parko got up and spoke, Ronnie Blakey got up and spoke, and everyone just delivered such great, funny speeches with funny Mick stories. And the whole night was around humor, and so it wasn't like super serious. And there were some tears, but it wasn't all teary. There was a lot of laughter going on, and it was really cool. You know, it was great to be a part of, and I'm very close with him and his mom, and he's like a brother to me. So I was just stoked to see they really sent him off the right way, and then he's retired. He's rated third in the world. That's pretty good, too.
Yeah, it's an amazing way to go out. And being that you're so close with him, I believe he had a twin or an alter ego that may have disappeared years back. Do you have any good Eugene stories?
I mean, yeah, I've got some good Eugene stories for sure. I've been around that little animal quite a bit. You know, there's tons of them. It's an acclimation period for sure, getting to know Mick and everything. And he's definitely gotten better. He's not as crazy as he used to be, that's for sure. And a lot of people really like that Eugene. They love that character. I mean, I remember doing a promo tour on the East Coast, and we were coming from New York down to Florida in a big motorhome. And I remember we were in Virginia one night, and we went big, and it went till wee hours in the morning. And then the next day, we were just trashed. And we show up to Florida, and we just wanted to go to bed early. We went out and did our promo, and then it was like Mick was done. He wanted to go to bed. And I remember the rep was so mad that Eugene didn't come out to play that night. You know, he's like, why the hell did the guy up in Virginia get Eugene? And we didn't get Eugene. This is bullshit. You know, he was so mad that Mick just wanted to go to bed. It was really funny. Never seen anything like it.
Those days where you're partying and throwing down and you're much younger at this point, are surfers still like that? Because I've seen in snow sports, and that's more my background, you look at the athletes that were competing from the late 90s and are into a different part of their careers now. When they were partying, they were going out till 3, 4 in the morning, getting up and getting first chair in the morning. And that was the lifestyle. And they were athletes, but they didn't treat their bodies as much like athletes. I would think back in the day in surfing, you were able to be a little bit looser and party a little bit more and get up the next day and not have a problem with it. As you get older, you probably mature a little more. The kids that are coming up that are just insane, do they have that party part that you had back then?
They do, but I think it started with our generation. During an event, we didn't go out and party. That was like the generation before us, maybe, with Matt Hoy and, you know, Richard Marsh and Gerlach. And there was just that generation, I think, partied more during the event. And we came along. We didn't party during the event, but once it was over, yeah, we'd have a big night out. The Aussies were always a step ahead of us and the Brazilians when it came to cutting loose and being a little freer on that side of things, for sure. Because you look at our generation, which is the momentum generation, there's Rob and Kelly, and they're not big drinkers. They're not big partiers. I mean, they'll go out and have a couple and have a good time, but it's far more sparse.
That's what you've been up to lately, was that trip to Australia. But I want to walk through your life a little bit, talk about the highs and lows. There's been a lot of highs in your life, but it all starts in Thousand Oaks.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was born there. It's funny because, yeah, I was born there. I lived there until I was about 6 or 7. My grandma lived there for the next 30 years, and I would always go and visit her. Me and my mom moved in with my stepdad, and he lived on the beach at Oxnard Shores, and that's how I became friends with the ocean.
It's easy to be friends with the ocean when it's a walk out your back door.
Yeah, well, the funny thing, I hated the ocean. When we first moved there, I cried for like 2 weeks to go back to Thousand Oaks. I didn't like the sand. It was sticking everywhere.
Every little kid knows that feeling. And in terms of money, did you grow up with money? It sounds like your stepdad had a place on the beach, but rich, poor, how did you guys fare that way?
We were definitely in the poverty level. You know, we rented a 1-bedroom little tiny apartment, so there was myself and my stepsister and my mom and my dad all living in the same room because, you know, it was a really small place. I mean, the whole unit was probably 600 square feet.
Whoa, so you guys sacrificed space for beachfront?
Well, it's just where he lived. I mean, the rent back then was cheap. I think he was paying $350 a month, and that was like some of the cheaper rent around was on this beach. It wasn't a really desirable, I guess, beach as, let's say, like a Malibu or Huntington or something. There was a lot of space there. You know, there's still a lot of open lots, and it wasn't a super popular beach. And back in the 70s, Oxnard was a bit of a rough town.
And when you were young, I don't know if this is when you were in Thousand Oaks or Oxnard, but you were in a pretty bad car accident.
That was in Oxnard. I cut myself on an adult when I was 6, and I started to get tetanus. So I needed to go to the hospital to get a tetanus shot, which was a very uncomfortable experience because I was deathly afraid of needles. And so it was a horrible experience. When we're driving home, a truck ran their stop sign, and I was sleeping on the glass on the window. My face was on the window, and they rammed into my door. So glass just went all over half of my face. I had 100 stitches in my face.
So that was a shitty day.
I was having a bad day. Yeah, that's a shitty day for sure.
Yeah, from tetanus to 100 stitches in your face. Once you heal up and anything, do the scars when you're a kid bother you at all? Because you can see the remnants of it today, and it's more battle scars of life. But when you're 8, 9, 10 years old, it must have been different.
Well, yeah, it was brutal because kids are, you know, really blunt. It was just hard because kids would, you know, walk up to you and go, "Ew, what's wrong with your face? What's wrong with your face?" You know, and I think it just made me kind of reclusive a little bit. I lived on a perfect beach to be reclusive because there wasn't another house within, I would say, 3 to 4 blocks of where our house was. We were the very most northern house on stilts on the beach. So we didn't have like neighbors on either side.
So you're reclusive, and are there any other friends that you're exploring the ocean with? Because I would think you're in the water a lot if you're right there.
Yeah, we were in the water, but it was like we didn't have wetsuits, and it's Oxnard, and water's cold. So we would run and jump in the water, body surf or boogie board, and then run out and bury ourselves in the warm sand to heat up. We would do that all day. We would just run in and out and then bury ourselves and warm up and go back in. And I had one friend named Brandon, and that was pretty much it. Now, 2 friends, and Damon as well, but, just kids getting to know the ocean, really.
Did you play any other sports growing up?
2 years of soccer was the only thing I did, yeah.
So it was just the water?
Just the water, man. I wanted to play other sports, but the coaches would tell me that I would have to kind of practice every day, and I was like, well, I'll come play the game for you, but I got to surf. I can't do both. And by the time I was in high school, they really wanted me to be on the water polo team, and they wanted me to play baseball, and I was like, I'd love to play, but, if you're not going to let me skip practice a couple days a week, and they were like, no, we're not letting you do that. And I'm like, okay, well, then forget it.
Yeah, I can see that being tough for a coach to let any kid do that.
Right. I understood. They could see that I had shoulders from surfing and paddling so much, and I always loved to play games and PE, football, whatever. I loved all that stuff, but it just took too much time.
When did you really start surfing?
Well, I got into surfing a lot when I was living in Oxnard, and then I took a couple of years where I didn't surf that much. I got into skating, and I was really into skateboarding.
What skateboard era is this?
I was in 6th and 7th grade, so we're probably like early 80s.
Alva, or is it Bones Brigade, or where are you?
Yeah, I remember the first board I bought was Sims Lamar. That's a long time ago. I didn't even know who Lamar was. He had a wing in his skateboard. That was super cool. We moved from Oxnard down to Carlsbad, and that's when surfing really took hold of me, because growing up there, they were really anti-contest, black wetsuits, whiteboards, no stickers. It was just frowned upon. They hated that stuff. And then I moved down to Carlsbad, and there's all these pro surfers, and people are sponsored, and they're wearing bright wetsuits. I was like in another world. It was a nice town. It wasn't nearly as rough as where I came from. And, in my junior high, if you wore a surfer's t-shirt, like a Town and Country, you get beat up. School was only about 3 miles from the beach. There's gangs around there. It was pretty gnarly with the gang scene. And surfers and Latinos at that time were a little bit adversarial. Where surfers were punk rock, Black Flag. We were different, and sometimes there'd be clashes. So when moving down to Carlsbad, it was like, oh, everyone's a surfer, and everyone's cool and friends, and I was like, whoa, this is great. So I really got into surfing again.
I've never lived in a world with gangs, I guess. I mean, I know they're everywhere, but in my high school, it didn't seem like there were gangs. Was that something you're scared of as a student?
Well, you didn't want to draw attention to yourself, because there was a bunch of guys that were tough, and they wanted to always prove that they were tough. And my sister, luckily, was friends with a lot of them, so she would protect me, or I was kind of left alone, but you just didn't want to throw it in their face, like, hey, I'm a surfer, because in my junior high, even though it's only 3 miles from the beach, there was only one surfer. It was me.
So you're getting into surfing seriously when you're down in Carlsbad. You're probably 14 at this point?
Yeah, I'm just starting 8th grade.
13, 14, you get into it, and you have 2 hard years of surfing, I would think, where you're able to get on the water a ton. But then when you're 15, you end up having like a terrible back injury.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was just born lucky. It wasn't really from an accident. As I grew, my last lumbar L5 slipped out to like what they call a grade 4, which is the worst. So it slips out of alignment with all your other vertebrae, and it starts to cut the sciatic nerve. I was getting pain like shooting down my left leg. At the time, I was young. I didn't know what it was. I was thinking the chiropractor could just pop it back into place. And one day I woke up to go to school and I couldn't even get out of bed. You know, I was like in so much pain. So my mom took me to the doctor and they were like, oh my God, you're going to be paralyzed within 6 months.
Jesus.
From the waist down. Yeah. And they're like, we need to do emergency surgery right away. That was a pretty hairball experience.
Yeah, I mean, what do you think at that point? At 15, if someone tells you you're not going to walk in 6 months, I mean, that's the worst thing that can possibly happen to you.
Right, because it's the only thing in the world that I cared about.
That or chop your dick off. Those are the two things a 15-year-old cares about, is moving and that.
Yeah, exactly. It spun me out. It put me in a dark place, you know, mentally. I was pretty depressed and bummed out.
From what you were saying earlier, were you an outgoing kid and a popular kid in high school, or are you just part of your own little surf tribe?
No, it's just part of my own little surf tribe. You know, I had a dream that no one thought I would fulfill, really. You know, like I still have the same 3 to 4 friends I had from high school. We see each other all the time. I just kind of stuck with those guys. I mean, they were nice. They were encouraging. They were supportive of me. Because a lot of people are like, oh, dude, you're never going to be a pro surfer. That's a stupid idea. You're crazy. You should just go to college. You know, I'd hear that all the time.
So did you have the mindset in high school when people were like, are you going to go to college? You're like, no, I'm going to be a pro surfer, dude.
Yeah, that's what I tell them. And they just laugh at me.
People with dreams like that, it worked for you, but those dreams are few and far between. How many people are on the tour you were on?
44.
Yeah, so I mean, when you say you want to be a pro surfer, dude, you're vying for one of 44 jobs. It's like saying you want to be an NFL quarterback. It's a hard thing to do to be a pro surfer at the level you were, and to have that dream as a high schooler. If you dream of being a pro football player, you're going to know by the time you're 15, 16 that it's not going to happen.
Right.
But your dream of becoming a pro surfer, you have to get to a point where you're pretty much saying, I'm all in for this surf thing and I'm giving up on the thought of a normal life. And it worked out for you, but other people have to go back and figure out the normal life if it doesn't work.
Yeah, I mean, I actually made the decision. My dad always laughed because he's like, you were the easiest kid in the world, because I basically decided that I remember sitting on the steps in Oxnard with a friend, and we were looking at a surfer magazine, and I said, I'm going to be a pro surfer in 3rd grade. And then I wrote a paper in 6th grade that my mom still has, saying that I'm going to be a pro surfer, and I'm going to ride for Channel Island surfboards. And, yeah, that was pretty much my dream right there. And it happened.
That's one of those stories that just doesn't happen. I mean, you hear about it every once in a while, and there's a movie made about it, and you have a movie made about yourself as well. I believe it's Arc. But it's incredible. And what's also incredible is that I have sponsors, and I have to talk about them real quick.
Sure.
My first sponsor is Evo. And if you haven't shopped at Evo or been to one of their stores in Denver, Seattle, or Portland, you are missing out on the best retail and online experience in the country. In store, Evo creates an experience like no other. The staff knows the product and they're easy to talk to, and they're people who want to help you find the right gear for your adventure. If you can't make it to a store, Evo.com has all the brands, all the products, and a low price guarantee, free shipping on orders of $50 or more, and a no-hassle return policy. For listening to the Powell Movement, they're going to give you an additional 10% off when you check out. You're going to want to use the code capital TPM, the number 10, all one word, and you'll get 10% off your entire order. My next sponsor is Rescue Water. There's no drink out there that's going to hydrate you better than a Rescue Water. It's science and it works. Think of it like this. When you wake up, you drink a cup of coffee, but if you really need energy, you grab yourself an energy drink. With Rescue Water, it's a similar principle. When you need to hydrate, like when you finish your workout, leave the skate park, or get done practice, skip the sports drink and drink a cold Rescue Water. It's a difference that you will feel. I drink a cold one before bed after big nights, and there's no more Saturday morning headaches. It's amazing how well it works for me, and you can make it work for you by heading over to rescuewater.com. And if you want to save 20% on a 12-pack case, enter the code RESQ Water TPM. That's all one word when you check out, and you'll get 20% off a 12-pack case. Rescue Water is also available on Amazon and Amazon Prime. My final sponsor, brews beer, drinks beer, and has fun doing it, period. They're the 10 Barrel Brewery based out of Bend, Oregon. They live and breathe the ski and snowboard culture, and in the summer, they bike, they hike, but most importantly, they like to drink beer outside. They want you to embrace your inner 10 barrel and start drinking beer outside as well. If that's not your thing, maybe food is. And if you happen to be in Bend, Portland, Boise, Denver, or San Diego, check out one of the 10 Barrel pubs for some great food and our favorite beers. Find out more about the beer, their events, and their pubs over at 10barrel.com. Those are my sponsors.
Yeah.
We will get back into your life. So you're in a body cast for 6 months after this surgery.
Right.
What does it even mean you're in a body cast? Like a full body cast?
I guess the best way to describe it was like it's a turtle shell, really hard plastic that doesn't move. It goes from like the top of my chest to the top of my knee. And there's straps on the side. You got to remember, this is 1986. The surgery they did, they were like, oh, it's 50-50 if this is going to work. And you're not going to surf again. And you're not going to play sports again. And I kind of was just like put in this body cast. And I had to wear it 24 hours a day. So it's really humiliating to have to like have your mom wash your back because you can't.
Your mom saw you naked at 15 on a daily basis?
Well, no, we put a towel over me, but I wasn't allowed to go into the shower. So I do baths with washcloth,
Sounds miserable.
It was miserable. And because time was going so slow, I mean, imagine a 15-year-old just being locked down. I wasn't allowed to go to school because I couldn't sit at a desk. A friend of mine had a horrific car accident at the same time where he lost his dad and he was really hurt. So we were doing homeschool together. We were doing tutoring at his house. And he was in a wheelchair and I was in a back brace, and it led to a lot of good laughter, and we were good for each other for sure. But it was still kind of gnarly.
How do you come back from that when they cut off the full body cast or however they take it off? What's your body like, and how do you get back to surfing?
Well, it took a while to get back the muscle, and I got really determined because I felt like I was behind the curve. All I could think was all my friends are getting better at surfing while I'm sitting here not doing anything. So I was like, I'm going to have to work way harder than everyone if I want to get back. So I started reading up on supplements and how to train. I mean, I would read articles. Tom Carroll was training a little bit. And Tom Kern started to train a little bit. So I was like, wow, I'm just going to go to the gym and try to figure this out on my own. And I went to the gym and started doing some leg training, weight training, sit-ups. I mean, I was just doing anything and everything I could possibly think of.
What's the turnaround for you feeling like you're strong enough to try to surf?
The doctor just said, you're free to go. And I was like, that's it? I mean, there was no physical therapy or anything. You're on your way. Go for it,
That wouldn't happen today.
No, that wouldn't happen today like that. I was surfing right away. I mean, I went out and I was like, whoa, it was all strange and awkward. My body felt weird. And the doctor said that you're going to lose probably 1.5 inches of height because of this surgery.
Whoa.
Yeah. Your wingspan is supposed to be the same as you are tall. I think it's, on most people, it's exact. So my wingspan is 6'3", but I'm 5'10". I'm pretty sure I was supposed to be at least 6 foot tall. But it just adds to how weird I am.
Well, it sounds like with the scars as a kid that make you reclusive, to then wanting to be by yourself in Oxnard, you have your 3 or 4 dudes when you get to Carlsbad, and then this puts you in an area where it's just you and one buddy. Even if you wanted to be out and about making friends, it's not going to happen. And then surfing is your ticket to like a social life and people.
It was, and it was like, I had a contest every other weekend. So a lot of times when it was windy and rainy and one foot blown out, I'd be the only guy out in the whole beach, like in the whole town. But I was like, in my mind, I was thinking, this is what's going to make me get better than all those guys. Because they don't have my back. They didn't quit for 6 months. I kept thinking to myself, you got to work harder because you're behind the curve. And that's just kind of been my attitude. Like, you might not be the most talented guy, but I'll work those guys.
Assuming you're doing pretty well in these contests and starting to get noticed, and I'm sure that builds some self-confidence in you?
Yeah, I was coming back, and some of my close friends, like Evan Slater, they were going, whoa, like, wow, you're getting better. I don't think anyone expected me to come back and do that well. Maybe, I know Evan was hoping I would, but a lot of people didn't know the severity of what a big surgery I had. I had a 7-hour surgery on my back where they cut bone from my hip and they put it along my spine, and then I have 2 screws in there, probably like the same size as your fingers, that go through like a metal bar.
Damn.
Yeah. Then that's been in there since 1986.
Did it bother you at all?
No. I knew from like what I was learning that I needed to stretch a lot. I got into yoga. I started stretching my hamstrings a lot. Because I knew if your back tightens up, it's probably because some other part of your body's tight. So I was always like, okay, try to get as much flexibility because it seems like that's what you lose the fastest is flexibility from surgeries. And, there's that whole deal. That kind of seems like that's the thing you need to stay on top of.
Yeah, it's the one thing you can control without using a knife.
Right.
So you're doing all this stuff at a younger age than most people, because there's a lot of people that are getting into yoga and have gotten into yoga in the past 10 years. But, you were doing this in the late 80s, early 90s just to keep yourself limber.
Yeah, back when it was, yoga classes, you'd have 4 people in there would be a big class.
There wasn't a yoga studio on every block.
No.
You're into that before you get really big in the surf world. And I'd say the World Ams in 1990 was a big one for you. I think you knock out Kelly Slater. You end up taking 4th. And that lets everyone know who you are.
Yeah, it definitely helped me get a bigger contract, because I was the highest placing American. So that really helped me. I wasn't fooling myself thinking that I was better than Kelly or anything, but it definitely doesn't hurt to beat Kelly when he was on such a big roll.
Yeah. At this point, who's paying you to surf? And as a 18, 19-year-old, how much money are you able to make in that business?
I was writing for OP at the time, and they said, if you want to sign the contract, turn pro now, before the World, they were going to give me $500 a month. And I was like, well, I feel like I'm worth more than that. You know what? I'm going to wait till the World Amateur Titles, because if I do well there, it'll make me worth twice as much. That's what I was banking on. And it just so happened everything worked out pretty good for me there, I did that, and I came back, and I said, okay, well, they're like, okay, we'll give you $1,200 a month. And that was my first contract.
That's amazing. So you played hardball, went to this contest, and then said, look, you can have me, but it's going to cost you a lot more.
Yeah.
Nice. And OP was everywhere back then. Now they're probably in Marshalls, but back then They were everywhere.
My favorite surfer was Tom Kern, and I was on the same team as Tom Kern, even though he didn't know who I was. But, I was like, wow, I'm on the team with Tom Kern and Gary Elkerton.
So that's a dream come true, getting onto that team. And once that contract signed, you realize, hey, I can do this and I'm going to make a lot more. And because I don't think the contest money at that point is what it became later on in your career. So I would think the sponsor dollars are what's really carrying you as a pro. With all of your sponsors at that young age, what do you think you're making? Because $1,200 from one brand a month, are you making like 30, 40 grand as an 18 to 20-year-old surfer?
Oh, no. Not even close. I was making probably like 20. Yeah. And for me, I finally had a car. I didn't get a car until I was a year out of high school. So I didn't have a car in high school. I was getting dropped off at the beach from my mom, and she would just drop me off, and I would say, come back and pick me up at dark. And I'd surf until the sun went down every day. I didn't even look at the surf. I didn't care what the surf was doing. I didn't care what the tide was doing. I was out there every day regardless.
Yeah, I find from hearing in the snow world from people, the pros are the guys who it didn't matter what the conditions were. It could be bulletproof ice or powder. They were out there from bell to bell every single day at that age. Hard work pays off. And you don't look at it as hard work when it's your passion like it was back then.
Yeah, it was, I love the beach, the ocean. There was nowhere else I wanted to be. Nowhere. And it's no secret to be good at anything in life. It's just practice.
And so in those early days, you're not making a ton of money, but you're getting by, and I'm sure having the best times of your life because you're traveling, and I'm sure all that's paid for. I guess the Momentum crew, it maybe was looked at as a new school type of crew, although there's been another new school that's come to the table. But what was surfing like before your crew came onto the scene?
I think it was, like you said earlier, it was a little bit more wild. A lot of characters in surfing. I think there still is. There's characters out there that don't need to be drunk to be characters. You know what I mean? I think what we saw coming up, we were a lot cleaner than what the guys were before us. You know, like we wouldn't go out and party. We really wanted to make a statement. We were so in competition with each other. There was a lot of times we weren't even paying attention to. It wasn't like, hey, let's go and make a shift, you know, for Americans and fuck these Aussies. It wasn't like that. It was like, hey, we were so competitive with each other. I don't even think we noticed other people sometimes because we had the contest that we were trying to beat each other in, but then we had the video part with Taylor Steele. You were just always on, you know. It was always like, who surfed better than that? Who got more clips? And it was hyper competitive, but in a good way, I think.
When I say the term new school, the older surfers or the older skiers, the older snowboarders of that generation, their careers are in a twilight and the sport's progressing, and the new school is those kids progressing the sport. And that's more of what I was thinking was surfing style. Did your Momentum crew change the way that people surfed? Like the new school kids today have changed it with the airs and things that you see.
Right. I mean, there's these waves, and then there's some lulls, too, in talent with, I think, each country. You know, one country will, okay, they've got a hot group right now, you know, and then maybe it goes into a lull for a couple of years where America doesn't have any really standout young guys. I mean, there's always talent. There's always guys good enough to get on tour, but then there's a special talent, you know, like the Dane Reynolds or John, you know, like guys that are just exceptionally amazing.
Yeah, and you know, I'm going to talk about the tour for a little bit. You getting onto the tour, if people didn't know who you were in 1992, people figured it out at the Hard Rock World Cup at Sunset. You won like 6 heats in a row. You took out Gary, you took out Sonny Garcia, and you secured your first spot on the tour in 1993. Is that the biggest day of your life at that point?
Yeah, for sure. You know, I hadn't made the cut at that contest. I needed to make a few heats. And I remember they were telling me, like, hey, if you don't make 2 or 3 heats, and I barely made my first heat. I remember it, and I was like, I surfed tentative, and I was kind of real tight, and I came in, and I was so mad. I just said, you know what? I don't care about making the tour anymore. I can't surf like that. I have to just go out and let it fly. Yeah, after that first heat, I was lucky to make it through, and after that, it was just like I went on this roll. It was pretty awesome. And I had a good friend from home that was like caddying for me, and he was so cool. And, you know, we couldn't really jump up and down and celebrate too much because it's Hawaii. And
didn't like how he's doing that, which was fine because, you know, I was really good friends with Sonny Garcia. He was going for his first Triple Crown, which was super cool. Kind of the beginning of his really good run as well. We had a quarterfinal together. I was winning the heat. I think he needed to make that heat, and Gary Orkelton was in the heat too. And if Gary made the heat, no, I take that back. And I was winning the heat, and Sonny needed a wave, and he had a broken arm, so he was surfing with a broken arm. A wave came in, and I had priority, but he's like, he needed a wave. I said, just go for it. You know, you can have this wave. I'm already sitting in first comfortably, and I don't care. You know what I mean? Like, at that point, I knew I'd qualified for the tour, so I was like, well, maybe this will be good karma in a way down the line or something. And he ended up going on the wave, but not getting the score he needed, so he lost. And then in the next heat, it was the semifinals. I had Gary Elkerton. I think it was me, Gary Elkerton, maybe Johnny Boy Gomes, and Tony Moniz or someone. Pretty heavy heat. And if Gary made that heat, he would have won the Triple Crown, not Sonny. And Sonny was on the beach. You know, he'd already lost. Yeah, I ended up beating Gary Elkerton at Sunset. And I remember, you know, how happy the whole Sonny Garcia camp was. He won his first Triple Crown, and it was pretty cool. And then I went on to make the final, and I was in the final, I think, with I know Johnny Boy won the contest. I think maybe Martin Potter and Vatea David was in the heat. I can't remember, but it was a really cool experience, for a young white kid that wasn't really qualified or qualifying until that event. And that was the biggest event of the entire year. It was our only, I think, what they called 5-star back then.
Okay.
It was our only 5-star event for the entire year. So I shot up the ratings to like 6th overall and passed up, I think Rob finished like 7th or 8th or something. So it was a good, kind of a good clutch thing to happen.
Well, it gets you on the tour the next year, which creates a lot more opportunities for you.
Right. And, my friends, like, Rob already made the tour. Kelly's on tour. I think Shane Dorian was on tour that year. Maybe Ross Williams came the next year. But, when you're in that group, it's like, man, you don't want to be left behind. You want to be the guy that's out.
Were you the last one to make it?
No, I wasn't. No, I think Ross Williams made it the next year because he's a couple years younger. I think the year that I made it, it was me, Kelly, Rob, and Pat. Or no, me, Kelly, Rob, and Dorian, I think. And then the next year, Ross made it, and then Pat made it after he did the Endless Summer movie.
And so when you make that, because this is the perfect way for me to kind of compare the surf world and the snow world, because there are a lot of similar personalities. The sports themselves are similar and totally different. But in the snow world, it's the Dew Tour, it's the X Games. This year, it's the Olympics. And in the world of surf, you get on the tour, and that's the golden ticket, I would think.
Right, because everything doubles. Your prize money doubles. Your contracts double. It meant so much. It meant being on tour with your idols and heroes. It meant better pay, more publicity. It's a big deal.
In the world of action sports, surfers are on top of the mountaintop. I know snowboarding came in for a little while and took a little thunder maybe in the late 90s-ish, but everybody needs flip-flops, everybody needs sunglasses, everybody needs a bathing suit, and surfers sell those products. Whether they know it or not, or whether the consumer knows it or not, when you buy a bathing suit from like a Hurley, money's going into surfing, and that's a good thing. I don't know if Hurley's a good example. I don't know if they're corporate or not, so maybe not the best way for me to say it, but do you look at any of the other action sports? Have you ever thought of how they compare in terms of like, hey, if I were a snowboarder, I'd be nowhere near as secure as I am as a surfer today?
Yeah, I do feel for snowboarding for sure. I feel like, at least in surfing, you have these layers of generations of surfers, and a lot of the older pro surfers get jobs in the industry, and they take care of guys like Aki and Tom Carroll and Tom Kern, and even though they're in their 50s, and it just seemed like snowboarding was like, where's the older generation there to take care? Maybe it just seemed like it was way more cut and dry with snowboarding. I felt for those guys. Like they were just, when your career was over, you were done. You're bye. See ya.
The second your contract is done, it's like, all right, you're not even going to talk to your sponsor anymore. All those relationships are almost gone for the next best flavor. And I'll say snowboarding's better than skiing because skiing totally disregards its heroes. But I look at skiing and snowboarding has gotten way more corporate. There's a lot of brands that are reporting to shareholders instead of reporting to people that care about skiing. And have you seen that in the surf world as well?
Oh, yeah, definitely. It's so much different now. You used to know the presidents of the companies. You still do, but the only difference is now they answer to shareholders. And that's a whole different deal, There was pros and cons for being held private, for sure. And I was thinking when companies were going corporate, I was like, it seemed great at the time. It was money injection. It was like 10 years ago, people were just throwing money around like it was nothing. You're just a good local surfer and you were getting paid like a pro surfer to go surf, which is, I guess, a great thing. But then it was the recession hits and they're just trimming fat all over the place,
Yeah.
Like big time.
And they don't care. There's no feelings. It's just like you die.
Well, I think that's cool too, but the only difference is maybe we shouldn't have sponsored so many guys that were just your average local pro, because it really set up, I think, some people for the fall. They were like, wait a minute, I'm a pro surfer and where's my check? And, it's like, nah, dude, you got to go get a job. Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the guys that were sponsored back then would no way be sponsored today.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess that's a good thing for the athletes in the sport because it funnels the money to the best, and that's really how it should be. You don't want to water down the landscape with too many pros when someone like yourself can say, that guy isn't a pro. He's not on this level, even though he's getting paid.
Right. I think it just got a little crazy. And then when the cuts came, it just felt so drastic. It was like, whoa, man, like, are you kidding me? Like, all these guys went from getting paid enough money to rent a room, pay their bills, like, have a good time, travel some, which is great. And then the whole industry just, like, sliced it in half. I think a lot of people were just kind of left out in the cold. It wasn't a gradual, like, letdown, which surfing, I think, before kind of did that, you know?
You were on island time, and then you went to hard business time?
Yeah, or they take care of their own a little bit more, I think, you know?
Yeah.
Like, okay, dude, we'll find you a job, your team manager, or, you know, and then things get really corporate, you know, and that changes stuff.
One corporate thing in surfing that really impacted your career was the K2 Big Wave Challenge, where K2 is a ski and snowboard manufacturer. They were going to get into surf, and they put $50,000 down on whoever's going to surf the biggest wave of the year. And I don't know if it was a planned thing, but it all lined up for you, and you bagged a 52-footer, and that won the K2 Big Wave Challenge. Now, that's a company that's a corporate company from outside of surf. How do surfers look at a company like that coming in?
We're going to accept the money, and they're going to go, cool. But, like, K2, it's hard once you go to Marshall's and Costco. It's hard to go back. It's hard to reclaim that authenticity. And if you never were there to begin with, everyone in the know knows. Not fooling anyone. It's not like they're going to think all of a sudden that you're cool. It's cool that you're involved and you're giving us money. I mean, I definitely did not plan on winning that. In fact, I tried not to enter it. And the guy that I used to shoot with, Rob Brown, he used to take us out on the boat, and he was a photographer. And of course, the photographer got paid. Whoever took the shot got $5,000, right?
Okay.
So he was like, "You're not getting on my boat unless you sign up for this contest." So I was like, whatever. Like, I want to be on the boat for sure. I love Rob, but I was like, dude, I'm not a big wave surfer. I'm on tour. I just come out here for fun because I enjoy it. You know, I didn't want to be a part of that big wave scene because it just really was not something I was focusing on. I just loved being out there and surfing out there. So he made me sign up, and that's how I won.
I'm sure you were stoked with the $50,000.
I was super stoked with the $50,000. I mean, don't get me wrong. I was over the moon, but it was like, wow, I got pushed into this. I didn't even want this, and it really worked out. But in a lot of ways, it worked out, and in some ways, it didn't work out.
How does it not work out?
Well, the year I won that, I got so much press from it. Everywhere I went in the world and every contest I went to, people wanted to only talk about that. And I just wasn't ready for that much press. You know, it's like being catapulted to some kind of fame that, like, I wasn't used to. Like, Kelly would have handled it fine, I'm sure, because he was used to more attention. For me, it was like, whoa, man, like, this is, I don't know what to do with all this. I felt pressure, and I ended up falling off tour that year. So it was pretty ironic.
Did you take the year off because of that?
No, I went straight back on the QS and requalified and got back on tour in 99.
Okay.
It was crazy. I was going through a separation. I was having a kid. There was that year was one of the heaviest years of my life for sure. Just everything. I just didn't have the tools to handle it very well, I don't think.
You have the biggest wave and a big paycheck, but personal and everything else is kind of out of control, or not out of control, just in a dark place?
Yeah, it was just out of control. And I mean, it's not like anyone really knew it, you know, just my close friends. And I was struggling, for sure. I was struggling with just, you know, having a kid and fatherhood, and it was a surprise and all that other stuff, which he turned out to be this stud of a young man now, which I'm super proud of. But it was just so much back in for me to take on. I was doing bad competitively. It was a lot.
Yeah, I can imagine. It sounds like a lot of things going on. I'm going to bring it back to the difference between snow and surf. In the snow world, you have avalanches, people die taking big risks. In the surf world, I would think the deaths are less, but they do happen. The scary things in your world are getting pinned under the water and getting smacked and slammed into reefs and rocks.
Yeah, I mean, there's injuries in surfing for sure. People get hurt, they break ankles and knees and hips and whatever. But I remember Danny Way, because I was talking to Danny when he first started doing the mega ramp, and I was like, dude, you are out of your goddamn mind. That scares the shit out of me. And he goes, what you do scares the shit out of me, because at least when I fall, I can still breathe.
Right.
And I was like, okay, that's a pretty good point. You know, like, that's the thing with surfing. If you fall and you knock yourself out and you're in water, you know, that's bad.
Yeah.
That can end badly, you know? So I get it. You know, there's dangers. I think surfing's unique because the ocean is the most powerful thing on this planet, and it'll have its way with you. I mean, you will not have your way with it. It's pretty spectacular, and you're not going to beat it. You're not going to overpower it. And we've lost some good men over the years, you know, like a dozen. It sucks. It affects the community in a big way because you're right there. You feel close to it, and you just couldn't. I'm sure in an avalanche the same way, where you're there, you're close. You just weren't close enough, and you know, it makes you feel really helpless.
Yeah. Have you been on scene in some of those situations?
I have, yes.
We don't even need to talk about that. In the snow world, you get flown to all different places. You have a handler who takes you up into the mountains. You always have a guide with you. And when the weather's shitty, you're just stuck in a hotel room, and you end up drinking a lot, usually if you're stuck in the hotel room for a long period of time. In the surf world, when the weather's not great, what do you guys do? Because I'm sure you're in like a beach town, and there's probably fun stuff to do other than just surfing. I'm
kind of a, workout fanatic. I'll find a gym. Music's a big thing. If we can find a concert, I remember if we were in Portugal and we found out Ben Harper was playing in Lisbon, we would get there. He would make it happen. You know what I mean? Or Pearl Jam was playing somewhere. That would be our thing. We'd be like hunting music down. Where can we go and find some music? And like I said, we're pretty straight laced.
It sounds like your crew especially.
Yeah, I mean, Gerlach's got stories of being in England for a contest and shipping his boards to France, and him and his friend buying motorbikes and riding motorbikes from London to France. Guys now aren't doing that. For better or for worse, that's not happening. But I think now the guys are, they're more focused because they're riding heavier waves. I mean, you look at some of these waves like Cape Solander, ours, the Red Bull contest and stuff like that. It's gnarly. What they're doing is gnarly. You can't show up and surf waves like that and be hungover. I mean, you can, but you need everything in your power, everything on your side.
It makes no sense for anyone to do anything like that. The people who used to do it, it made no sense back then, but they were able to pull it off. But today, people are a little bit smarter because you see the carnage when someone goes down these days, where in the 80s, you just heard stories, but now you see and hear about things on social media, and it makes you smarter about your decision making.
And plus, you're with other people. You put them at risk if you do something stupid, because then they have to come and save you.
Yep.
If you're laying there unconscious in the inside of Jaws, and that guy in the jet ski or your friend has to paddle in the middle of the impact zone to get you, he's taking a big risk himself. And those guys are going to do that. They are not going to let someone just sit there. They're coming in to get you. So I think their expectation is like, hey, at least be as prepared as you can. So, you're not dragging us into a situation that we need to be in just because you wanted to go out and party last night.
Yep, totally. More comparisons. One thing that we don't see in the world of snow is you're never really on a mountain and have an animal come attack you. But in the world of the ocean, you never know what's out there. And I mean, it can be scary for anybody just swimming around. And has there ever been times where you're spooked in the water? I mean, we all saw Mick at J Bay, but have you ever had any fears of something else present around you?
I've had senses like where I just thought I'm getting out of the water. I just felt eerie. And I feel like, I mean, they just had a shark attack yesterday in West Oz. Actually, they had 2 attacks yesterday on the same day. And they're running a WCT there about a few miles away. And of course, with the whole thing with Mick being, that was just super crazy. They're on high alert. It's just weird because we didn't think about things like that. And that's just the product, I really believe, of overfishing. I mean, you take a place like Reunion Island where they've had like 13 fatality attacks in like 2.5 years. We used to go there every year, and it was, sharks are around, but we didn't think about it like that. You know what I mean? Like, we were all out there surfing every day. And now people just quit surfing altogether because it's just too dangerous. Something's changed. You know what I mean? And I have to listen to like local fishermen and locals that live there their whole life, because I feel like they're the ones that have boots on the ground in the trenches, like they live there every day and they see changes, and they're saying, hey, the fishermen are fished everything out of the fish on the outside reefs. So what? Sharks don't have anything to eat, so they're going to come on the inside. It makes sense.
Yeah, and like you say, the people with their ears to the ground are going to know the most.
Right, and I know some people have other theories, and scientists are going to say this and that. Maybe they're right, but I don't know. Something's changed. It wasn't like this before, and it's like this now. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think some people believe there's this thing, climate change out there. I'm a believer.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever got into snowboarding, but you did date a snowboarder at one point. I think you were in a relationship with Tara Dakitis back in the day.
Yeah. It was a long time ago. It was probably like 15 years ago, I think.
And we can say that was your time getting into snowboarding.
Yeah. I'd snowboarded before, but then, of course, being with her dragging me around to all these spots that I probably would have never been to, which it was cool. I went to, Breckenridge, and I went to Aspen and Mammoth, of course, and I got to surf some really cool spots. I got to surf not surf.
I'm with you.
I say surf because when I'm on the mountain, I surf the mountain. My brain doesn't probably think like a snowboarder. I'm looking where I can carve. But I was always so jealous. Like, people are always like, oh, well, you must love just carving down the mountain, which I do. I want to go as fast as I can. That's all I really care about. But I would always be so jealous because I'd see those kickers and be like, God, that looks like so much fun, I was in the middle of a career and I couldn't really risk that. But I remember just going, if I was a real serious snowboarder, I think I'd love to just be in the air, doing flips and like hitting these huge airs and kickers. And, you look at these videos that Travis Rice is doing, and, it's just like, wow, man. And, I got to know Kevin Pierce a little bit because he lived in Carlsbad, and I got to meet him way before he got injured. And then he was still around after his injury and stuff, which was super cool and really inspiring. What a nice kid, man. Just what a dude. So yeah, being with Tara and getting into travel and see all that side of things, it definitely tripped me out because, snowboarders and surfers are definitely, they're a little different, as you would expect.
You don't have to deal with the cold, and I'm sure that probably played an issue into why you don't snowboard every winter, is my guess.
Yeah, well, it's just funny, like, you have to remember so much gear when you go snowboarding. There's the scarf and the gloves and the beanie and the face shield and so it's like
there's a lot of gear.
And if you get to the lift and you're like, fuck, I forgot one glove in the car, you're screwed. Like, you need that one glove. There's no way you can go up there and have a hand that's out in the cold. Back to the car. It was pretty funny. I did some funny shit, I'm sure, where she was just kind of going, oh my God, what is he doing? But my excuse was, hey, I'm a surfer.
Yeah, so she's using the word kook, describing what you're doing on the snowboard side.
Yeah, I was a kook. I was totally a kook. I could get down any of the mountain parts, like I could get down them without falling, but I wasn't like, ripping or doing huge airs or, I was just trying to carve and go fast. That was my whole deal.
But you couldn't adjust your goggles or any of the basic things that skiers learn.
Yeah, the goggles would fog up and I'd be, like a little kid, just like, what the fuck? And they'd be like, don't put your goggles on your forehead, like the steam is going to create steam. And, it's just stuff like that. I was like, damn it.
Well, I'm sure there's little things in surfing that you know from a lifetime of doing it that you could share with her, and she would get better.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Back to your career in 95, you're consistently in the top 10. Things are going well for you, and you win your first event in 96 in Rio, and that's your first event on the tour. I'm sure you won many of events when you were younger. Another biggest day of your life, winning a tour event in the wonderfully clean waters of Rio. They're probably a lot cleaner in 95. Thinking of that, do you ever have to surf in any nasty water?
Yeah, I mean, California's gotten better, but there's still places here where we need to get a lot better, as far as runoff goes. And, I feel so bad for some of those lakes and stuff around Rio, because it truly is, it's a really beautiful place. And the pollution is just off the charts because the infrastructure isn't there to, for the sewage plants or, the runoff or whatever. And it's just a shame because they don't realize how incredibly more beautiful it would be, and people would stop getting sick. And it always goes, like I said, it always goes back to government. And unfortunately, this is still a greed-based world to where money rules, and the people at the top like to keep the money at the top. Doesn't spread, trickle down very well. And yeah, I've surfed in some really dirty water, and luckily where I live here in Carlsbad, Oceanside, Carlsbad, North County, a lot of the streams and rivers around here, they've opened up and it's clean now. It flows in and out. We'll still get, on heavy rains, get some bad stuff, but I feel like overall we're a little bit more lucky living down here in San Diego.
You ever get sick from surfing?
I don't think I have, actually. I have a crazy strong immune system. I mean, it's pretty nuts. I remember getting a gamma globulin shot, I think it's called, once when we used to have a really good sandbar and the river would break out. And it was ugly. It was dirty brown, and and we would go and get these shots, and it would be like, help us for 3 months with our, without getting sick. And I didn't get sick, but I never got those shots again. I just figured if I see dirty water like that, especially on the first rain of the year, I'm pretty much like going, hey, it's cool. I'll just find a beach that doesn't have runoff around it. I don't need it that bad, I take a miss nowadays. When I was younger, I didn't give a fuck.
So in your career in 99, do you take a year off from the tour? Like a personal year, or you just bumped off the tour?
No, I got bumped off the tour and I had to requalify. So
that's what we were talking about earlier.
Yeah. And there was a time, I actually contemplated quitting. I was like, because of all my personal stuff going on, I was like, maybe this isn't what I should be doing. And then, went back and stayed on tour another decade or so.
You requalify, you come back. 2001, I'm just looking to your big years. You only surf 5 events, but you get a 2nd, 5th, and a 9th. And why the only 5 events?
Yeah, I know. That was great. It was a bummer. That was the 9/11 year. And we were on our way. We were supposed to go to Europe for the 3 contests over there. And it all got canceled because of 9/11.
It's all coming together. You're on fire surfing, and then you're supposed to go to these 3 contests, and terrorists pretty much took it out from under your surfboard.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
So we'll blame the Taliban for the end of 2001 for you.
Yeah. It's weird, that's what people don't realize is like, not that, what happened to me is no big deal compared to what happened to the people of New York.
Oh, for sure.
It just shows you how far and wide a tragedy affects everyone, like something like this. It affects how we go through airports now. The security, we were doing just fine there for how many decades?
A long time.
Air travel is way less restrictions. Everybody was going pretty safe. It's so unfortunate that these idiots are out there in the world that do shit like this. It's just crazy. I don't understand it. I think there'd be harmony on this planet if just no one hurt anyone else. But as humans, we just can't seem to pull that off.
It's weird with people that value religion so strongly, and I just don't get it. In this country, religion's not that important anymore. It doesn't seem like, but to some people, it's worth killing over.
Yeah, it's really strange. I mean, more blood has been shed in the name of God than any other reason on this planet from the beginning of time. And I'm pretty sure whoever you're worshiping, whether it's God or Jesus or Muhammad, I'm pretty sure that's not their message.
Yeah.
You're misinterpreting the message.
Yeah, no, I think the message is Jews are the best and everybody else is number 2. But that's because I'm Jewish.
Even that is just crazy because I have friends that are like some of my best friends are, very strict Jewish people, and they're so nice and they're so giving, and that they understand the real true message. It's not always about money. Even if you are Jewish, it's not about money. They give so much. And I think it's a lot of misinterpretation. I mean, 2 people could read the same book and get totally different messages from it. I'm not religious, but I'm very spiritual.
Okay. Religion is something that will probably edit some of this religion stuff out because no one really cares about it.
I hope that people realize it. I think the main message is look in the mirror. That's all you got to do. Don't look at others. Don't judge others. Look at yourself.
Yeah. If everybody did that, the world would be a better place. Not everybody's going to do that.
No, they're not.
I'd say in terms of finishes, 2003 is your last best year on the tour. You have 3 thirds, and the prize money is actually insane at that point. I think each third gets you at least 10 grand.
Yeah.
Even 10th place is getting 4 or 5 grand, right?
Yeah, which is awesome. I mean, it was I had a great career,
I never made the most money. I kind of stayed at the same level my whole career, which is strange. But I was consistently there and providing for my family, so it was fine,
Yeah, and it seems like later on in your career, you made some investments that probably paid off, and they had to do with beer. But in 2008, another milestone I look at, you started using boards that were different than most people's. And what were different about the boards that you were riding, and what benefits did you find?
I just wanted to, I guess being on tour for so long, I wanted to do something different or see if I could do well with different equipment using more of like Bonzer type bottom surfboards. And we experimented a lot, which is really cool. We learned a lot along the way, but it was really hard to spend the time really getting to know and experimenting when you're on tour because, you're going from one stop to another, and it's, you might have a 2-week break at home, but 2 weeks that's not enough time. It's like when there's a drastic change in a snowboard design, like I see these snowboards that have these curved outlines, and I'm like, wow, that's really different. Those probably take a lot of testing,
Yeah, to develop them.
A year or 2, before they're actually ready to go and put them on the market.
Oh, yeah, because some just suck when you develop them.
Right. And for us, it was like we were learning on the fly and at the same time trying to compete. So that was hard. That was really hard. But I wanted to do something different. Or I wanted a different feel. I felt like, okay, well, we're all riding single to double concave. Okay, well, that's the way it's been for like 25 years. I was just like, God, there's got to be something out there that works great or better. And you just don't know until you jump in there. I think that has to do a lot with Kelly wanting to do different designs as well. He just wants a different feel. He wants to know if there's something else out there that we've missed.
Were you still riding those boards that you were experimenting with, or what did you find that fit your style?
I'm riding a shaper's named by Chris Forrest out of Oceanside, and he was actually one of the lead designers at CI for the last 10 years. He decided to start to go back to his own brand again. He's been shaping for about 30 years. We nicknamed him Rain Man because he just has a mind that I love. It's just, I don't understand it, but the way he sees things, it's amazing. It's like probably the best I've ever worked with, really. The way he is with the computer, he's a perfectionist. I like that about him. And, he's an ex-pro skater.
So he gets it?
He really gets it. Like, he still can do a 540 on his ramp. I mean, he's gnarly. He's 50 years old. One of those guys that I love the way his brain works. You give him a problem and he can see the solution, which I love.
In 2009, you put out a fitness DVD. And is it a money play, or is it something that you're like, I really want to put out a fitness DVD? And do your friends make fun of you?
Oh, yeah. I always get made fun of. But no, it definitely was not a money play. We didn't make any money. I just did it for I mean, I had so many people that were coming up to me because they knew I would work out in the gym, and they would always ask me, like, what do you do? And after a while, I was like, you know what? I've been asked this so much. Let's just put out a DVD. It was, my trainer at the time, Paul Henniker, who I still work with. It's good publicity for him. He's helped me out a lot throughout my career, and I wanted to do something that might help him out a little bit. There was no money. We kind of had bad timing because we came out with a DVD. It was right when DVDs were going away.
Yep.
You can download it on iTunes.
What's it called?
Surf Exercises.
Great name.
And then we came out with one after that called Surf Fit. So that's the sequel to it. And there's no money anymore because everyone just rips your stuff off and puts it on the internet. So there's no money there. I don't see money there.
There was at one point.
There was at one point when people would actually go out and buy DVDs or DHSs. But now it's like people just rip everything off. So we just do it and we just put it out there for free because, I mean, it's just education, really. If someone's really interested in it, the best part about that is that I get people coming up to me going, hey, man, those exercises have really helped my back. I'm back surfing again. And that's really why we do it.
Yeah, I can see that being rewarding, especially if someone actually takes the time to tell you that it actually helped them. And I'm sure you get emails every day hearing how people have been fixed by Surf Fit.
Right. And the guy's just going, thank you so much. Like, I'm surfing again. I had one guy cry. Didn't think thought he was done surfing. He's like, I was in so much pain. I just stopped surfing and I missed it so much. But he's back. He's surfing. That's good enough right there, man.
Yeah, that means you're doing something right. 2012 in your career is your last year on the tour. Did you decide to hang it up competitively? Or did you have a tour card going into 13? What was that process?
Yeah, I actually wanted to quit a year or two before that, but it was in my contract to be on tour. So, and plus I was on tour with Mick and, being on tour with him made it fun. And I was ready. I was ready to get off. I knew before that year started, I knew it was going to be my last year. I think the judges found out as well. And I don't know. I feel like I was surfing really good that year and I really wanted to do well. But when you have it in the back of your mind that you're leaving, and once people find out, it just seems like they're looking at you a little differently.
Yep.
Not in a bad way, but like, this is this guy's last year. He probably doesn't care. I did care, but I feel like maybe they get it in their head that, let's not give him the score. He's leaving anyway, kind of thing. So there were a couple times where I felt like I got underscored, but I got it. And there was a new group of young guys coming out and they're ripping and I got it. It was cool. It was a graceful bow out. On my part, I was so ready to get off the tour.
How old are you at that point?
At that point, I'm like 41.
Yeah. You're the oldest dude on the tour and it's time to go?
Yeah. I mean, people kept saying, like, you're the oldest guy and wanted to interview me because of that. And I was like, I can't wait for someone else to be the oldest guy.
Yeah. There were a lot of perks that came up throughout your surfing career. We're not going to talk about all of them, but one thing, and I'll call it a perk, although it was more of a business decision, was starting St. Archer. That was a beer made up of professional athletes from the action sports world. And who was involved with the company and what was the thought process? Like, we like beer, let's make one?
Yeah, well, I was just talking to my friend at the time. He was the president of St. Archer and started it, Josh Landon, and he was my agent at the time when I approached him about a tequila company approached me about being a part of them. And I was kind of interested, I was like, I called him. I said, hey, what do you think about getting involved with the tequila company? And he was like, it's hard liquor. You're a surfer. You're kind of a fitness guy. And I was like, okay. And he was staying actually with Mikey Taylor, who's a pro skater at the time. And they started talking and it was like, well, nobody in the action sports world, like no group of guys has ever come together and started a beer. What about a beer? Beer is a little bit, everyone who get out of the surfing a long day in Mexico wants to grab a beer afterwards. You're tired, you're happy, you're burnt, you're thirsty. You don't grab a tequila, you grab a beer.
Yep.
So we kind of said, well, let's do a beer company, but with snowboarders and skaters. And so there was 27 of us. It was insane. Like, you look at the list and it was like, okay, well, now we need to get really good brewers because, we obviously have the team and we obviously have the marketing because the marketing was great and the logo was awesome. And now we really need to make sure we got the right product. It's got to be a good product. And they went and got some really good brewers that knew about beer because none of us knew how to brew beer. It kind of came together. It was a little bit like when the Momentum generation started on a mission. It was like, let's get together and start a company, like the athletes start a company. And it was so well received. It was really cool because I think people get behind a product where they kind of know, who these athletes are,
Yeah. I mean, it made perfect sense. Everybody who does these sports, if they don't drink beer already, they're going to, for the most part. There's some Mormons out there that'll never drink it. But eventually you sell it. Was it Miller Coors that bought it?
Yeah.
And do you guys make a fortune?
You only make as much as you have invested. So for me, it was great. I didn't make $1 million or anything, but the return on my investment, it was awesome. It was a great experience. Helped pay some of my bills. It helped me buy a jet ski, which I was totally happy with, and put some money away in the retirement. But it wasn't like I made enough to retire. Some guys might have. It just led to more opportunity to reinvest and get involved with, the company that we started last year, which is Villager Coconut Water or Villager Goods. And we're doing coconut water, and we might be doing some other products as well in the future. So yeah, it just gives you more opportunity to do more things. And it's not like money breeds happiness. That's for sure. We all know that, but
it makes things easier.
It's a tool in this world that you need. So I'm happy and appreciative just to have the opportunity.
Yeah, well, it sounds like you went from a 1-bedroom, little 500 square foot apartment to the life of a pro surfer, which is awesome. I'm at the point in the show now where I have a segment called Inappropriate Questions.
Okay.
And I have a guest come on and they ask 3 inappropriate questions to you. I believe you have a newborn at your house or a young baby. Is that correct?
I do. She's 1.
Okay. So when we started, She was just born. When we started communicating, she was just born. And she's 1. So a good friend of mine, he worked for Nike, Nixon, K2, and he's designed all their packs and bags. I think probably any Nixon pack you've seen in the past 10 years is probably him. But he started his own company because he had a baby, and it's called Product of the North, and they create baby-specific backpacks. And he gave me one that I'm going to ship up to you, and it's got all these crazy baby compartments, and it's a pretty rad backpack.
Rad.
Yeah, so productofthenorth.com is the people that are giving you the backpack, but Adam Rohde is the guy who owns it, and we'll see what his inappropriate questions are.
Hello, Taylor.
Hey, Adam.
Back in the 90s, you were pro, and this puts you in your 20s, I believe. I'm sure you had a lot of groupies during this time. Did you ever take advantage of that while you were out being pro, having fun, and traveling?
I love this question. You live in a world where you're on the beach, and the people that are watching you, if they're female, they're in bikinis. If they're male, and only if you're lucky, they're in banana hammocks. But I would think women or men are throwing themselves at you. And what Adam wants to know is, did you take advantage of this during your single days?
Well, I mean, I'd say, most of my career.
I lost you. You said most of your career.
And, we had a good time going around. It was like Kelly was the main attraction, whenever we went anywhere. So he got most of the attention.
But you get the leftovers, right?
Yeah, well, there were times where, there's always karma involved, right? So, you may hook up with someone in one place one year, and then, the next year you go back and you're like, I kind of remember you, but, and then, they get mad and, some little spat ensues. And so after a couple times of, I was like, you know what, I gotta be a little more careful here and just chill, But like I said, I was kind of a serial monogamous, I guess.
Okay. That is question number 1. Let's go to question number 2.
You've only had 1 win in the last 20 years of your pro history. Is it weird being a pro who's only won once?
First asshole to bring that up. But I guess if you're looking at it on paper, yes, 1 career win. I think there was a couple seconds, maybe 10 thirds. And it's amazing how much money can be amassed by second and thirds in surfing. But what was the question? I just heard you being a dick for telling him that he only won one contest.
I'm just giving him a hard time.
So your question for Taylor was pointing out that he didn't win more than one contest?
Basically, but for the record, he's an amazing surfer.
I bet he might even know that. Is it weird that you only won one contest, or is that just kind of how surfing is?
No, it was weird. It plagued me. I mean, it was definitely on my mind. Like, I would question myself all the time, like, how the hell have I only won one contest? Like, it was maddening and it drove me insane. Maybe it made me a better surfer, or maybe it just drove me crazy, and that's why I'm so weird. But I grew up in an era where there was Kelly, who was just winning everything, and then Andy came along, and he was amazing and just winning everything. It was kind of like we were all fighting for second, and when Andy and Kelly were doing their thing, and then you got like Gabriel Medina, and then you got, it was just like there was one spectacularly dominant surfer after another that were coming through. And I definitely wasn't, as Kelly would say, you were never the best competitor. I was a way better surfer than I was competitor. And I knew that. I just don't think I had the ruthlessness to do what it took to get the job done across the line. Like, I guess I could have done things a little different, but there were times where, instead of spending 3 or 4 months in the North Shore, I'd get homesick and want to go home. Maybe I should have spent more time, dedicated more time over there. And even though I was really good in Hawaii and I loved Hawaii, there was just certain sacrifices that, I was there, I'd say 90%, but that last 10%, something would drive me back home or I'd get distracted. So, I wouldn't say it's my fault because I had such a good career, but like, I have no one to blame but myself.
All right, I'm going to go to Adam's third inappropriate question.
You thought you were done with diapers, being that you have a couple kids that are older and you just jumped right back into diaper land. Was this an oops moment, or was this completely planned?
You have 1 or 2 other kids?
2.
And how old are your other children?
I have an 18-year-old daughter, and I have a 20-year-old son.
Okay, so they're probably your friends again. They might not have been your friends for a little while, but you're probably the cool dad given that you're a pro surfer. But now you have a 1-year-old. There's a huge gap there. Was it planned?
Yeah, this one was actually really planned out. My wife now isn't the mother of my other kids, and she didn't have any kids. So when I met her, we've been together for about a decade now. That's the one thing she was like, I'd really want to have a kid. And I was like, okay, well, if one is going to work for you, then that's fine. If you want more than one, I'm not your guy. So I had a vasectomy like 15 years ago, maybe longer.
They have to undo it?
They had to undo it. Yeah. And I don't recommend that for any man out there because it is not fun.
I haven't had one, and it's been a point of contention in my household.
Oh, vasectomy is great. Like, that's easy. That's no problem.
But doesn't it change the way you shoot?
No, not at all. Not even a little bit.
Okay, that's what I've heard.
No. I don't know who you've been talking to, but I can tell you from experience.
Okay.
It's different now being a dad. And I was really nervous and apprehensive about it. And now that she's here, it's like, wow, I enjoy it. I wouldn't say more, but like me as a person, I have more patience. Yeah, I'm really enjoying it. It's a different time in my life, and I'm not on tour, and that's not good or bad, but it's different and in a good way.
Yeah, you've gone from the oldest guy on tour to the oldest dad at the PTA meeting.
Yeah. And, and I have 2 friends that are older than me that had kids, so I'm like, well, if they can do it, I can do it,
Totally. Well, I want to thank you for your time. You're as great a dude as Don said you were. Not weird at all, even though you've said you're weird about 8 times.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Mike. I appreciate it. And thanks for putting up with my, schedule lately. It's been a little off, but
you're an athlete, man. You've got things to do, places to be.
Well, I hope it was worth the wait.
That was time with Taylor Knox. And was it worth the wait? Well, I don't know. But what I do know is that Taylor seems like a dude that would be cool to have a beer with. And if that ever happened, I'm going to guess he would show up about 30 minutes late. But that's a guess. Taylor's a guy who had one goal, and he wouldn't let a body cast or anything else get in his way, and his life has just worked out. Next week, it's Back to Bend and an interview with freeride mountain biker Carson Storch. We'll talk Carson's life and times, the Red Bull Rampage, and a lot more. That's next week. Until then, please review me on whatever platform you listen to me on and tell your friends about the show. Finally, I want to thank my sponsors, Evo, Rescue Water, and the 10 Barrel Brewery for supporting the show. Have a great week, everyone.